This looks like it's on an angle, doesn't it? My life is on an angle. Well, you see over here? We're in a room with a Murti of Prabhupada. That should make a good background. So I want to record this on my voice recorder, and I can't record it until I copy some files on my computer and can thus free my SD card. You want to come?
Am I the only one?
You are now. Well, you're not the only one. There's more people in Australia. Hare Krishna. Give us a little time. I'm just have a seat. You sit. Here is better than. Welcome, great sage. I'm trying to erase files, then we can start. 4, 5, 6, 10, 11.
So you're living to America?
Not.
Oh, going to America.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
I'll get bewildered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, problems. Hold on. My SD card is full. I have to copy, then delete, and then we can record. Now we're broadcasting here. It's 7:15 p.m. in Australia. This is the third series on we're defining love, and we gave general definitions, and we talked about love a pure devotee has for people in general. A little bit what we talked about in Bhagavatam class. And anyway, we're today we're supposed to talk about the love a devotee has for Krishna, but that's a difficult topic, which I would have to cover more in depth in several classes, and most of which no one's going to understand because there's so many levels of prema. How do we understand? We talked about in the last class, we said that lust is satisfying your senses, love is satisfying Krishna's senses. That's the definition. But where that takes you in different stages of attachment and love is a scientific understanding, which we're going to discuss in another class. In this class I wanted to read something which is amazingly interesting. But I'm so reluctant to start until I can record it. Although there is another way to do this, which I might opt for right now. In light of the fact it's taking so long, we can record it direct from my computer, mystically and magically, if I just remember how to do it. Hold on, everyone. Don't go anywhere. Technology. We're going to bypass the recorder and use it as an interface to my computer. What do you think of that? Transcendental? All right. Now, Krishna Chaitanya. Okay. Don't go anywhere. Now we have to bring up the software and hope that the software doesn't mess up. Used to mess up on my old computer because it was slower. Okay. I have to tell you that this all used to drive me crazy. Now I'm an expert in audio recording on a computer. But previously, this used to drive me crazy. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara. Okay, we can start. We're going to record. No, we got to turn the metronome off. Don't go away. Okay. Jnanatirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurumeritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Okay, now we're recording. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. So, I found something. I don't know if this is exactly what Alana wanted me to talk about. You can yell and scream if it's not. But I'm going to read something I'm sure you'll be happy with. When you talk about love in relation to Krishna, you're talking about the word prema, right? You're not even talking about the word bhava. You're talking about the word prema. And then bhava oh my god, I lost the files. Bhava is preliminary to love of Krishna. And prema is when there's no trace of anything other than love. That's the nature of prema. And instead, it says on the stage of bhava, there's something that's not pure yet, not completely pure. So this is how it works. And I just want to find what I was reading also while I'm talking. This is how it works. When we become purified, purification means everything that's getting in the way of loving Krishna. Right? That means any desire, any ego, anything. Right? So, any kind of love you have, I'm trying to find this, I don't know, I'll find it later. Any kind of love you have, it gets contaminated by anything that gets in the way of it, right? So you love me, I love you, but then I go and pickpocket you. So that's a contamination. Or I want to use you for something. So then the love's not pure, right? Because our concept of love is unconditional, right? Yes? You've heard that word? Unconditional love? People throw that around. I don't know if anyone understands what it means. But Prabhupada used the word unalloyed love. My poor phone stand doesn't stand straight. Anyway, it'll be like an avant-garde movie here. I'm a little on an angle, but we have Prabhupada in the background there, which is really nice. So, our scriptures say that if you come to the stage of bhava, it's still possible you can fall down, right? And you have the example of Maharaj Bharat, who was on the bhava stage, or you have the example of Bilba Mangala Thakur, and then he later, in his life, got off the bhava stage, and then he had a girlfriend, and whatever else he did that wasn't Krishna conscious. So then it's such an elevated stage, it's a stage of ecstasy of love of Krishna, then you consider, well, how could you fall? It's Krishna consciousness which is leading to love, but love doesn't have any impurity. Love is, I only want to serve Krishna, that's the only desire. And even on the stage of bhava, some contamination, something. Which shows how deep the contamination goes, right? It goes very deep. So, prema is that stage which we call love of Krishna, and bhava is called ecstasy, which is also known as preliminary love of God. My life is exciting. All kinds of bells and whistles go off all day, which we'll probably hear a lot during this class. So, on the stage of prema, it's completely pure. There's nothing. And when you're on the level of prema, you go back to Godhead. When you're on the level of bhava, you go into Krishna Lila in this world. Do you know that? Yeah. Prabhupada says in the Krishna book, before you go back to Godhead, you go into Krishna Lila in this world, and then you get trained. That's where you get training, to go from bhava to prema, because you can't go back to Godhead on bhava, because you have an impurity. And no one in Braj has an impurity. In the eternal pastimes of Krishna, there's no impurity. Because if there is, it's not pure. You want pure love, right? That's what you want. That's what Krishna wants, pure love. Is that he doesn't want to exchange eternally with you until your love is pure. So, you go to Braja, into the pastimes of Krishna, and then you get trained. And you, in those pastimes, in those leelas, you learn how to serve, and you learn to extricate any remaining slight contamination. And when you achieve prema, then you're qualified to go back to Godhead. So it starts from Shraddha, works all the way up. Get rid of material desires. The first major stage is Nishtha, and that means like 75% of your anarthas are gone. So it's still 25%, that's preventing you from getting the love of God. And as the anarthas decrease, ruchi, asakti, bhava, less, not much on bhava, and then prema, there's nothing. So you may remember the story of the gopis. There were gopis that couldn't go to the rasa dance. They weren't qualified. Krishna blew his flute, and it seems externally that they were qualified, but their husbands wouldn't let them go. So it just seems like their husbands were being rascals. But what we understand is that actually they weren't qualified, and under the influence of Yogamaya, their husbands wouldn't let them go because they weren't qualified. So what happened was that then the gopis, it said they gave up their bodies, but actually it means that they gave up all the last contamination. Because you imagine you couldn't go to Ras Leela? Your husband is holding you back. So they went there in their minds and they burned up all their contamination, and then they became purified. So that's what happens in Braja. You become purified like that. So then you come to the stage of prema, and then in prema there's so many levels, and it ends with Mahabhav, and Mahabhav is the state that only Radharani has, and then Mahaprabhu exhibited that. Great ecstasy. Say Bhav, Mahabhav. There's believe 2 stages of Mahabhav, and I'm going to have to review this because off the top of my head I can't give. And most of it we won't understand anyway. But Prabhupada once said that even if you don't understand it, you can read it and discuss it as best you can, because at least you know it exists. Or at least now you know something exists that's so high you don't understand it. And that's what you understand sometimes by not understanding. Does that make sense? You just, like, there's a realm of love that we don't understand, but if we read about it, we understand that it exists. And then we understand that this realm exists that's so deep I don't understand it. And that's stage one understanding. So, I understand that I don't understand. That's okay. Well, that's what Prabhupada said. So we'll do that in subsequent classes, but if that's okay. And in this class, I had it, I don't know what happened, why it just evaded me. Oh yeah. I don't remember taking it off my computer, but if you bear with me for a moment, I want to read this amazing story. Well, I just have to go through. You're gonna love this story. This story will change your life forever. Aren't you happy you came today? Okay. You'll never be the same again. I hope it's better. Okay, so this is reading, basically, I would say this is basically a diary about the artist and how Prabhupada dealt with him, and it's very important for us. So, 1969, Prabhupada was writing the Krishna book, and his vision of the Krishna book, it would have many, many paintings. Lots and lots of paintings. And so he wanted the artist to produce a painting every day. Then he said every 3 days. He wanted them to work very fast. And so artists generally don't work fast because it's detailed and it takes a long time. You can work on one aspect of your painting for a day, not the whole painting. So this is the Leelas around the painting and the conversations the artist had, and this gives us a chance for Prabhupada to express an aspect of bhakti that maybe we're not familiar with, and it's really interesting. No, wow. Okay. So try to picture this. You are an artist and you've been a devotee for maybe 2 or 3 years, or even 6 months. And you are tasked with painting something that is supposed to exceed the greatest works of art ever known to man. You're supposed to paint something that is more beautiful than Raphael or Da Vinci or Rembrandt has ever painted in their lifetimes, because you are painting the beauty, the unlimited, infinitely unlimited beauty of God. I think he's just talking here. It was translated. So what is the beauty of Mona Lisa compared to God? What is anything compared to that? So these poor artists are shuddering. How in the world can we accomplish this? And plus Prabhupada saying make a painting every few days. What Prabhupada is giving the world is so great, and our skills and abilities are so small, they don't match. It's not even close. Then a letter comes, and now he wants a painting a day. So I think they thought a painting a week, a painting every 3 days. Now it's a painting a day. So there was a lot of concern. And as they were talking amongst themselves, they wrote to Prabhupada that they did not feel adequate or up to the challenge. Quote, "We think our skills as artists are not that great, and we think we need to study seriously and go to an art academy. We need to learn the greatest techniques of the greatest art in the world, and maybe then we will be able to do something that might be slightly worthy of what Prabhupada is going to give the world, a vision of God. How can we paint that? We barely even know how to paint." So you understand, you can relate to this, right? This is, Prabhupada's books, it's going to depict Krishna, and I don't really know how to paint. I mean, my paintings look like, a 12 or 13-year-old's paintings, or something like a good 12 or 13-year-old, or an okay 16-year-old, but not for this book. So that was their dilemma. So they had to present this to Prabhupada. Well, they presented that dilemma to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada explained to them, and this is so extraordinary. He said, "Your whole concept of beauty is mundane. actually you don't even know what real beauty is. So in first class we gave, we were talking about how we don't know what love is because we love chocolate. So, I don't do puja to chocolate every day. Well, maybe I do, but I hope not. So I don't do puja to chocolate. I don't serve chocolate. I don't dedicate my life to chocolate. So our concept of love is shrouded in lust, and sometimes it's hard to separate. Because I love you because you make me feel good. So Prabhupada's saying here, you don't understand beauty. It's like this same idea. You don't understand lust. Your idea is, all these ideas of beauty or love are actually devoid of love. So that's kind of what he's saying. Prabhupada started to teach these devotees the definition of beauty. He said, there are two parts to understanding real beauty. The first part is that everything in the painting must be authorized and authentic. So, I'm going to relate this to love. In other words, what was happening is sometimes an artist would do a painting, just like, okay, we'll just do a painting. And Prabhupada would say, what Leela is that? He says, oh, it's just Krishna, just by the Juman or something. Prabhupada would say, no, what pastime is that? So that's one aspect of authority, authentic. It has to be a Leela, right? So one time Prabhupada was asked, in relation to love, I'm trying to relate this discussion to love, he was asked, what does it mean to love the spiritual master? And he said, what it means is to follow your vows. That's what it means. So many people weren't following their vows. So the first thing he's here is trying to separate love from emotion. Because what does it mean to love? You say, well, it means it's a feeling, right? I feel for you. I just feel for 3 other women also. Right? No, well, if you love me, it's just me. It's not 3 other women. Right? You have to demonstrate that. This is a definition of love. It's one woman dedicated, right? So that's how you understand it more practically. So that's what Prabhupada's saying here. So our scriptures will define love, and it'll be defined in different stages. So our stage of sadhana, where the emotion isn't high and we have a lot of material attachments, the love will come out in sincerity, it'll dedication, it'll come out more in the form of what you're actually doing. Like, what do you do all day? Say, well, I don't love Krishna, but all day I serve Krishna. So then, in that sense, you could say, in a qualified way, you love Krishna, even though it's not prema, but by your actions you're demonstrating it. Like one time, a devotee said to Prabhupada, will we become self-realized if we distribute your books? And Prabhupada said, you already are. Because if you weren't, you couldn't go out every day. So we don't think we're self-realized, right? Do we? It can go in the suitcase. And the suitcase is out here. Anyway, he'll figure it out. We don't think we're self-realized, and Prabhupada's telling us we're self-realized. So we don't think we love Krishna, but then we understand there has to be some way to define on the stage of Vaidhi what you might call love, and so you define it through action. Authorized action. So Prabhupada's saying, you love me, you follow your vows. So that's how we define love. Or you love me, you follow my instructions. Do I really love you? I don't know, but I follow what you say. And so that's the best I can do in my state. Right? So, there are 2 parts to understanding beauty. The first part is that everything in the painting must be authorized and authentic. Let's be spontaneous. Let's just do what we feel. Paint Krishna the way we feel. And so Prabhupada's point is, because you're a conditioned soul, what you feel is going to be wrong. You don't see Krishna, so how will you paint him? So what I feel was love has to be in accordance with what Shastra says is love of Krishna. What is Krishna like? Well, Krishna likes this, but I like this. So I'll offer him what I like, because I think if I like it, he should like it. And in some cases, that's all right. But in some cases, it's not all right. He doesn't like it. Right? Don't chant that melody. Krishna doesn't like it, but I like it. And I want to chant it. Okay, so that we're talking about doing what Krishna wants. Okay. There can be no imagination, no fabrication, no fanciful imagination like poets and artists of the world who are trying to create something that is beautiful based on what they have seen in the world. So we relate this to love. It's not love the way you define it. Oh my God, I never started recording this. Should I say everything again? No, actually I am recording. Oh, no, I'm spaced out. Yeah, it is recording. Let's just double check. It's still recording. Krishna. Oh, it stopped. Amazing. Yeah, a dropout. See? I knew. Now, we don't know where it stopped. Okay, hold on. I should have stopped in 11 minutes. And we've been going for 25. Holy moly. So we lost them. Okay, hold on. I have to see where we left off.
What is the beauty of Mona Lisa compared to God? What is anything compared to that? So these poor artists are shuddering. How in the world?
Okay.
What is the beauty of...
Not so bad. Can I repeat what I said? Will that bore you? It's okay. You'll tolerate it? I don't know if I could say it again. Maybe we'll have you say it again, since you heard it. There's too many there's too many programs opened, and as a result, this is a powerful computer and it didn't want to process this. That's why you buy Mac computers, because these things don't happen. Right? Should they hire me for an ad for Macs? They have this old ad for Mac. It's got two guys, one's a PC and one's a Mac, and they're having a conversation, and the PC guy starts choking in the middle of the conversation. And he can't talk, and he freezes. I have to go back to where we were reading. Krishna, Hare Hare. Okay, so I have to read again. But for the benefit of all of us who have bad memories, and for the posterity's sake, we're going to have to read something again. Okay. So we left off saying we have to paint God, and we have to do it in a day, and we don't even know how to paint. So then they were thinking, I can just pair it. We were thinking, we're not good artists. We have this great task to do, so we should get trained. So they presented that to Prabhupada. That's the idea. Prabhupada said to them, you don't even know what beauty is. Prabhupada started to teach devotees the definition of beauty. He said there are two parts of real beauty. First part is that everything in the painting must be authorized and authentic. There can be no imagination, no fabrication, no fanciful imagination like poets and artists of the world who are trying to create something that is beautiful based on what they have seen in the world. So, then I was just explaining that our definition of love, if we use love by our definition and try to apply that to love of Krishna, it's not going to work. Because our definition is very much polluted by what gives us pleasure. So we normally say we love things that give us pleasure, right? Think of how you use the word, what do you love? I love summer. You like summer? No, I love it. I love the beach. I love my car. I love my guitar. I love my new guitar. It cost me $1,000. I love my mother. You should love your mother, but why do you love your mother? Because she loves you, so you love your mother. So it's all based on what gives me pleasure, right? And then you have the story of the gopis. You have the story of the gopis and the headache. And so, when Narada Muni's asking, why would you take the dust from your feet if you know you're going to go to hell? And say, well, it doesn't matter. So that's love. The gopis exhibit the highest degree of love, where it's just about satisfying the other person. And that, we don't have that experience. Maybe in the movies, we talk about it. It's good for a script, I'll love you, I'll die for you. There's this joke, and the husband tells his wife, I love you so much I'd die for you. And the wife says, yeah, you always say that, but you never do it. So, would a husband actually die for his wife? Maybe. Some. But that level of devotion, of love that the gopis have, we don't have that in this world. So Prabhupada's saying, if you want to envision anything in Krishna consciousness based on your material conception, then it's not going to work. Right? So you can't, you see, what Prabhupada was dealing here is he's saying your vision of beauty for a man is big muscles, right? What's a beautiful man? He's got big muscles. That's a conception. And Prabhupada said, that is not the conception of beauty in the transcendental realm. It's not big muscles. That's the conception of beauty here. So now, if you paint Krishna with that conception of your beauty, then you've painted Krishna who's not Krishna. So he's saying, so in the same way, our conception of love has to be defined by Scripture. So how does Scripture define love? Okay, here are these principles you follow. This is what Krishna wants. He wants to eat this. He wants to be woken up at this time. He's bathed this way. He's dressed this way. So it makes him happy. That's the idea. So, anyway, this gets really good, this discussion here. We have all heard Prabhupada saying that on the Govinda he's saying this on the Govinda album, the beauty is not based on what you have seen in this world. So Prabhupada said, nothing in the paintings can be inaccurate. It has to be authorized. You can't concoct. It must all be correct and authentic from Shastra or from the Bhagavad. You cannot know beauty. You don't know what beauty is. You have to be told how to present Krishna. Classic male beauty has muscular forms. Prabhupada had said that this is not beauty. I think once he said that's meat-eater beauty. Those big hunky guys. He said, that's meat-eater beauty. Yeah. And Prabhupada said Krishna's body's soft. It's, soft, like a baby kind of. The beauty of a spiritual body is soft, and you don't see the muscular body as it is very soft. Everything has to be authentic. It's not up to the artist to paint what they feel. So, it's not what I feel love is, it's what Shastra directs us. So, in our state, if I am your servant and I do what you say, that's the closest manifestation of love I can give you before it fully develops. That's how, like a wife shows her love through service. A disciple shows love through service. So sometimes we will say, I love Prabhupada, or Prabhupada will say, my disciple loves me. And what that story, when, it's a great story, and I may have told it before in this class, but we'll tell it again. So, Malati was serving Prabhupada. She was cooking for him in Mayapur. And she was going through untold difficulties in acquiring the bhoga and cooking it under very difficult and primitive situations in India at that time. And she got to the point where it was like, she just said, that's it, I can't do it. You know that sometimes in life, you get to these points in life where it's like, that's it. I couldn't do this even if I wanted to. It's just too hard. So, this was like her last day. She was on her last leg on the last day. And I think the story was it was very hot, and she'd come to serve Prabhupada, and she was sweating, and Prabhupada was with his godbrothers, and she was serving them, and she came in, and she covered her head, and then went to serve Prabhupada and serve all of them. And then Prabhupada said something that just tore her heart. Not tore it, melted it. And he said to his godbrothers, he said, you see this woman? I think this is exactly how he said it. He said, she would slit her throat for me, and I would slit my throat for her. Okay, that was it, she kept cooking. So, and it's true. the disciple would slit his throat for the Guru. At least we would for Prabhupada. In those days we would. Of course he wouldn't ask us, but figuratively he said if she had to, she would. So we can call that love, even if it's not a full manifestation of love of God, but that's as close as you're going to get. Well, you'll do anything, right? So we have to define love that way. That's what Prabhupada's saying. You can't define it according to, well, I feel. The French people are very into feeling. So they might say, well, I feel love is a sensation, it's a feeling, it's a mood, it's a romantic night, it's a walk by the beach. Right? All these things that I feel love is. And Prabhupada's saying, you love me, follow these 4 rules and regulations that you promised to follow. No, but I don't exactly feel it right now. But I do feel appreciation, and I do, although that's all good, but here. So that's the point that's being made here. So as you have to define what is Krishna and what is beauty, you have to define what is love. It has to be authentic, based on Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. That's Prabhupada's point. The second definition Prabhupada gave is this. And this is amazing. The only way you are going to achieve beauty is through your heart, through bhakti, devotion to God, and not through anything mundane. In other words, the way you're going to understand what is real beauty, so you can see it and say, this is beauty. The way you're going to understand that is through devotion, through purity. Otherwise, you won't know actually what is beautiful. And you'll think that I'll paint Krishna with big muscles. There's one artist, and he paints Krishna. I call his paintings, that's California surfer Krishna. Because Krishna looks like a California surfer. He just looks very California. Or we can call him a Durban. That's the Krishna Durban surfer. Because surfers have muscles, because all that paddling builds your muscles, and it's a certain look. So every time I see that, I go, yeah, California Krishna. There's a painting of Krishna. I don't know if you know the painting. Krishna sitting, I think, with a calf. It's a calf or a deer. And it was done by a blind man. And he could see Krishna. And it said, that painting that's the painting that looks like Krishna. But if we gave you 100 paintings and said, which one looks like Krishna, what are you going to say? You go, well, I like that one. No, which one looks like him? I didn't ask you which one you like. But obviously if you're a pure devotee, you would say, yeah, you would know. You would be able to see that. So that's what's being said here. You won't know what beauty is. Or like, once we gave one girl, she was the brother of a devotee, and he wanted us to go to her house. So we went to her house and we brought prasadam. And she liked prasadam, but when she ate the halava, she spit it out. She was like she smoked a lot, and it didn't taste good. So, let's read this again. The second definition. The only way you are going to achieve beauty is through your heart, through bhakti, devotion to God, and not through anything mundane. Not even through feeling love for the mundane, because it is only through bhakti that a painting can become beautiful. If you don't paint with bhakti, I don't care what it looks like, it will not be accepted. That's so heavy. Okay, so I wanted to talk about this. There's a story I might have told you before about Prabhupada rejecting paintings that were materially much better than the original paintings that we're talking about here in the Krishna book. Because this was like 5, 6 years after these original paintings were done. The artist had 5 years of work, and they were really, the paintings, they're really good, right? Paintings are like amazing. But those Krishna book paintings, high school art class, basically, isn't it? You have junior college here, or community college. Like, you have university, and then you have these smaller, less expensive schools.
Yeah.
What do you call it? College, yeah. It was like high school or college art class, or a talented 12-year-old or something. That's what they look like. And I'm not an artist. I'm not criticizing. I can't even do talented 12-year-old art. I'm up on the like 8-year-old level on a good day. So, and by their own admittance, that's what it was. So, so they brought in these new paintings, and they didn't follow the principle that Prabhupada gave of being authentic, because some of the paintings, they were not Leela. They were just a painting. And Prabhupada said, "What is this Leela?" And they said, "Well, we just made it up." That one was gone. Then Krishna had this long hair, and Prabhupada said he looks like a hippie. That painting was gone. I mean, these are not sketches, these are full paintings, which materially we'd all look at it and go, and we would think, that painting's beautiful, that should go in the book. Every painting we would probably say, that should go in the book, and Prabhupada rejected every single painting. And if you read the conversation, basically what's coming out of it is it smells, the early paintings smelt of devotion, and these didn't smell of devotion on the level of the early paintings. So Prabhupada wasn't looking at the material, he was looking at the devotion. That's what he saw. So this brings up, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because this whole discussion is about material quality versus devotion. And sometimes we make the assumption, if it's materially good, then that means there's devotion, right? It's like, which could be true, and it could not be true, right? It's just materially good. And here we're saying, Prabhupada's saying, materially good by the devotional standards is actually bad, and we don't like it. Isn't that interesting? He doesn't like it, even though it's materially good, because he sees a lack of devotion. Like some cooking is materially good, and Krishna won't like it. You taste it and you think, this was offered to the deities, I don't think they liked it. Why do you think that way? Because after being a devotee for so many years, you start to understand what Krishna likes. Isn't it? Anyway, let's read a little more about this. It's really interesting. I don't care what it looks like, it will not be accepted if there's no bhakti there, even though you made it beautiful. So now we come back to the problem that the artist had and how they proposed that they wanted to go to art school, and Prabhupada had said that was not how they're going to learn how to paint. They may teach you how to paint in a mundane way, but that is not what I'm looking for. Isn't that interesting? It's like Prabhupada saying, this is not going to please Krishna. And you're thinking you're going to please Krishna by developing the art, the external art. And Prabhupada's saying, that's not how we're going to do this. And there's a purport in the CC where Prabhupada talks about this. He said, everything, Krishna consciousness has to be done by pure devotees. Then it has power. And if it's just done by, like you can have professionals do so many things. But in devotional arts, the professionals can't do it. It has to be done by devotees. Right? Can you get a professional to give a class and it's going to actually carry potency? No. Prabhupada said even in drama it should be pure devotees, not professionals. Even though they're doing the lila, but it should be pure devotees. Chanting. So many people can chant. Beautiful voice. But if they're not pure devotees, it doesn't really touch your heart. What it touches is your material senses. It touches your ear, or it might touch your emotion, but it's not the same. You say, oh, that's so beautiful. But you feel good, but did it actually awaken bhakti? So, Prabhupada's saying, they may teach you how to paint in a mundane way, but that is not what I'm looking for. You are going to sit in front of your canvas 8, 10, 12 hours a day after day, and the entire time you're going to be painting, you're going to be chanting Hare Krishna. I understand that you feel helpless and totally inadequate, and you are in great anxiety that you cannot do this. Do this means that you cannot paint well. That is exactly the mood I want you to be chanting with. I want you to be in so much anxiety, so anxious, in so much desperation, that when you call out to Krishna, it is from the core of your heart. In other words, Prabhupada is saying, here's this task which you feel unqualified to do, and I'm not going to teach you, I'm not going to allow you to get lessons how to do it. So Prabhupada's general philosophy was, whatever you have, use that for Krishna. It's like you brought it and use it, and you don't need to educate yourself. That was his general policy, at least in those days. That's, of course, application, that's another discussion, but in those days for brahmacharis, brahmacharinis, it was like, okay, whatever you came with, that's it. You're not going to go back and learn more. But now, Prabhupada's saying, you actually are going to learn how to be a good artist. It's just, this is how you're going to learn. You're just going to paint, and you're going to chant, and you're going to turn to Krishna and say, help me, I don't know how to do this. And you're going to feel completely inadequate. I want you to be in so much anxiety, so anxious, in so much desperation, that when you call out to Krishna, it comes from the core of your heart. It should be the greatest desperation that anyone has ever felt in life. Krishna, I can't do this. Help me. That is how I want you to chant Hare Krishna while your hand is moving, while you're painting. That is how I want you. And if you do that day after day, crying to Krishna for help every single day, you will learn how to be an artist. That is all the training you need. What do you think of that? Should we talk about that? So, Prabhupada's saying, okay, this service, it's not material, it's not mundane. It's not, you can't just do it by learning. Then he's saying, anyway, if you learn, they're going to teach you how to paint something that won't resemble Krishna. So the value of your learning is it's not going to work. And they're going to teach you how to perfect a material art, but they're not going to teach you how to offer with devotion, how to paint with bhakti, how to paint independence. The real teacher is Krishna. So Prabhupada is saying, you paint, you pray, you chant, you ask Krishna for help. That's what you do. And that's how you're going to learn. Okay, you want a side point? They were in Boston in the coldest winter in like 100 years, and they had no heat, and they were painting with gloves on their fingers, sitting on the floor. Okay, now I would like to show you the picture. You want to? I can't move my computer. You want to come here? You should come and look at this, and I'll show everyone. This is the first painting. Is that showing up in my camera? Can you see?
No. My full ear a little more down. Yeah.
That's the first painting. Krishna book painting. And this is the second painting from chanting Hare Krishna. Just, I think a few months later. Look at the improvement. That's just from chanting.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing? No lessons. Oh. Can you see if they? Can you look and see?
Just do that.
And I think there's one more that came shortly after. That's another devotee. She was on her own. And then this one, another one. Krishna jumping. And of course, you know all the okay. You know what the paintings look like now. No, those are all no lessons. So, what I find, personally, I find so important about this discussion, it's so relevant to us, is that sometimes the devotion is very high, and the material expertise is very low, and we, as Westerners, everything is about what it looks like, right? It's more about what you look like than what you are. You're appreciated for externals. And so then that consciousness comes into bhakti. And Prabhupada so often appreciated internals, which externally we didn't appreciate. Not so often, but sometimes. Like this is the best example, these paintings. They were not appreciated. Even the artist didn't appreciate them. And Prabhupada appreciated them because they were authorized and Krishna looked like Krishna. It just wasn't done artistically well, but it looked like Krishna more than the other paintings they did that were done better but didn't look like Krishna. So just in my experience in Krishna consciousness and trying to be Krishna conscious, I mean, obviously, you want to do something materially well, but you have to understand what it means also to do it well. So Prabhupada's saying that these new paintings weren't even done well materially, by his standard. So you have to even understand what it means to be good from a spiritual perspective. It requires some purity, right? Like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, well, what is a good kirtan? What is a good kirtan leader? What does it mean to lead a good kirtan? And you could give so many definitions. Well, he has a good voice, good rhythm, he gets people to dance, etc., etc. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, one who is more humble than a blade of grass, he's a good kirtan leader. That was his definition, like a lot different than ours. Right? So there's a story in the last days, or maybe when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was leaving his body, he wanted a song sung. Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. And so one of the disciples who was a good singer sang it. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur stopped him and he asked another disciple to sing it, who was not as good a singer, who didn't sing as well as the other disciple, but who had more realization of what the song was. So he stopped, said, no, I want you to sing. So it wasn't about how well he sang, but it was about the mood. It's like, you want your mother's cooking. Even your neighbor can cook better, but you want your mother's cooking because there's love in the mother's cooking. Right? So this is, wow, it's really such an important point to meditate on. Especially when we're doing kirtan, or we're dressing the deities, or we're cooking, because they are all external manifestations that you can evaluate from a material level. Is this good? Right? Well, this was a good kirtan because everybody danced. Okay, that is true. Prabhupada wanted everyone to be involved in dance, so that is one sign of a good kirtan. But it could be a bad kirtan and everybody dances, because the kirtaneer's ego is off the charts. And it's somehow we're infecting the mode of passion that everyone else is in, so everybody's like, yeah, that was great. But actually you brought everyone into passion and everyone kind of vibrated on that frequency and we called it great. Yeah, that happens. And sometimes Prabhupada has stopped kirtans when that was happening. when there was not enough humility or too much passion, he just stopped it and said, "You lead." And we were moving and grooving with the kirtan, this is like, he's the man, he's the kirtan leader, he's the one, he's like the top 5, 10 in ISKCON, Prabhupada goes, somebody else. He's just seeing it differently, seeing that level, sincerity, devotion, dedication. Your own standing in Krishna consciousness. Okay, you lead kirtan, you haven't chanted any rounds in, 20 years, you're not following all the principles, whatever. No, he didn't see it that way. And if you cook prasadam and Prabhupada ate it, he could tell how Krishna conscious you were by tasting the prasadam. You know that? Yeah. Because he was tasting the prasadam of one devotee, and then he asked the devotee to speak, to see him. And Prabhupada said, "Thank you for following the regulative principles." And Prabhupada knew that by tasting the prasadam, that nobody could make prasadam like this who wasn't Krishna conscious. Is that amazing? Like sometimes you can taste the bhakti, right? Yeah. So it's like a subtle level it's a different level of living on. It's not this external level that once you make everything nice, okay, we address the deities, everything's in place. But it's about bhakti. It's about the devotion that you put into it. So yes, in some cases, when you put devotion in, the material result will get better. There's no question. But not every case. As in this case with these paintings, the material result initially was not good. And those were the paintings Prabhupada liked, because he could feel the bhakti. The other story, I think I've told this recently, but no problem in telling these stories again. When the devotees made the Govinda album, or the single Govinda, then they sent it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada listened to it. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but at that time in ISKCON, when it came out in 1969, our kirtans were very raw. Usually Kartal's mridanga or harmonium, maybe tambur. That was like it. No bass. Sometimes acoustic guitar here and there. But, it's just because someone joined with a guitar. It wasn't standard. No bass, no guitar, no violin, no trumpets, no flutes. Which are more common now. So, the Govinda record, in case you don't know, because the way it's mixed in a very nice way. It's got drums, but they're not loud. It's got bass. It's there. It's got harp. It's got an organ. It's called a rotary organ. The sound sounds like it's, which is all like really cool rock organ sound. It's got guitar, right? But it's done tastefully, so it doesn't sound like Anyway, that was like unprecedented in ISKCON, that only music we had was basically Prabhupada's bhajans. And then that came out. I think they made another recording, but it was just harmonium and mridanga. And then that came out with all this music. And then it's being played in the temple, and greeting the deities time. So from their perspective, this is like rock and roll music. And then it's a woman leading. In those days, no brahmachari would listen to a woman. Are you kidding? I'm a brahmachari. As Bhakti Vidyapurna Swami jokes, says, I'm a brahmachari. I eat wood for breakfast. We're tough. We're rough. So then, the icing on the cake, there's a woman leading. And, you don't have, you're exposing the whole temple to this. And Jumuna tells that when Prabhupada heard the Govinda prayers, he was crying. So he really felt the bhakti in it. And he felt the devotion, the sincerity like that. And he loved it. So some devotees had written to Prabhupada complaining that this is like basically rock and roll or soft rock and a woman leading. And it's not the way Prabhupada saw it at all. And obviously he didn't see it that way because he asked for it to be played in the temple at greeting of the deities. That means we're going to hear it every day, every temple forever. So he had such a different vision of that. He was seeing it totally from the point of view of the devotion. Yeah. So we can talk more about this. It's such an important topic. But the clock has struck 12:16, and all is well in Durban, South Africa. And Mahatma and company has to go for an engagement tonight, which is 4 hours away. And they're going to leave the comfort of the nice warm weather to go to some very cold weather. But as Prabhupada said, preaching in the snow is sweeter than eating mangoes in Hawaii. So we're on our way. And then next Monday we'll take up where we left off on this important topic, which we could explore further. But thank you all for staying tuned and listening, and we will see you when we see you. There's a lot going on this weekend, so I don't know when we'll see you again. But Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Go Premanandi.